G'day and welcome to the episode. This is a radio controlled aeroplane. I built this one over the Christmas break out of Foamboard using a glue gun, and it's controlled with one of these. These haven't really changed much for 20 or 30 years in terms of how you control them, how they're put together, and how they fly. They're really good fun. I love building them, but there's been some fundamental changes in the materials that we use to build model aeroplanes over the last 20 or 30 years, and it's now much easier and much cheaper. So for example, this would have been built from an expensive balsa wood kit 20 or 30 years ago, and it would have had a gasoline engine in the front of it. Now we use this stuff called Foamboard, which is a really light foam with like a paper covering, and we use the glue gun to put it all together. We now just download the plans from the internet and you just print them onto paper and then glue them onto cardboard and use them as templates. You cut the template, you transpose the templates onto the foam board, cut the foam board out, glue it together, and you've got a model aeroplane. It's really good fun. I've done quite a lot of this. As you can see on the wall behind, there's a bunch more up there. They've all flown. They're all great fun. But there is one major problem with this aircraft, which means I want to build another one. So this video is going to be about building exactly the same model as this again, but this time I'm not going to paint it. Model aircraft are all about weight. The less weight you have, the slower they fly. And I like them to fly as slow as possible. This one has a lot of paint on it because the foam board was actually black, not white. You can get white or black foam board. I couldn't get any white foam board. I got black, and I had to paint that so many times, so many layers of yellow paint to get it to go yellow, that it's now well over the weight that it should be, and it's over the weight that I want it to be to fly. So it looks great. I'm really happy with the result, but even though it can fly, I don't really like flying it because it's just too fast. That might sound silly, but it's just the way I like my model airplanes to fly. So I'm going to build another one. And that's what this video is going to be all about. We're going to build a Pilatus Porter radio-controlled aircraft identical to this, but with no paint, using 3 sheets of foam board. So let's get going. So these are all the templates we need to build this model aircraft. There's the tail feathers, the fuselage, and the wings left and right. As I said, I just downloaded the plans, free plans from the internet, and printed them out on A4 and then just glued them onto some cardboard so that they form up templates which we can now reuse time and time again. Pretty simple process. It's a great system. I love it. And all we then do is just grab the foam board and we just trace out the pattern of the parts onto the foam board, then cut them out, and then we just glue them all together. And once we're all done with all of that, we've got the aircraft ready to have all the electronics installed, and we'll go through all of those steps one by one. But for now, we're just going to start with the wings, then we'll move on to the fuselage later. But for now, just the wings, one at a time, onto one foam board per wing. Let's go with that. So now that the wings are done, we can move on to the fuselage. It's basically in 4 parts. There's a few other bits and pieces, but essentially it's the horizontal stabilizer and the vertical fin, the back of the fuselage and the front of the fuselage. And it's kind of hard to visualize it when it's like this in template form, but essentially this is the A4 printouts onto cardboard. It's basically going to form up a fuselage kind of like that, sort of. Anyway, the first thing we need to do is try and fit these onto a sheet of foam board, which I'm pretty sure is not going to work. So I'm probably going to need a 4th sheet of foam board. Yeah, straight away I can see that's not going to quite fit. Almost will. Anyway, we'll lay these out, get them cut out, and then we can start assembling the fuselage. Let's get going with that. Okay, this project is really coming along. I'm quite happy with where we're at now. And we're just about ready for the electronics to be installed. That's going to sit there like that. Looks like it'll work. And I've just got to build up the firewall here for the engine mount. The engine will go there, then the propeller with this over the top of everything. So yeah, wings are done, fuselage is done. Just install the engine mount and then we can start doing all the electronics. So let's keep on trucking. Okay, I think we're all done with the front of this model. I have added some magnets to the battery lid, so that now snaps shut beautifully. I've added some magnets to this, just there and here and on the bottom, so now that locks into place as well, which is great. I've also added an air scoop on the bottom of here that forces air through that hole and around the motor, and then it'll be ducted out through the holes in these exhausts. So in theory, the air should go in there, around the engine and out there, just to help with some airflow around this. And the rest of the airflow that comes in through this front scoop here will, and I'll use this stick to demonstrate, will go through the battery compartment. So it'll go in the front there, past all of the heated up electronic components, through the back, and down the back of the fuselage there's a little duct that allows the air to escape out the back. So now that we've done all of this, I think we can stop work on all of the build process. Now we just start plugging all these wires in. I'll lay out all the electronics and we'll have a look at what we've got to install. Okay, let's do 60 seconds on how the electronics in one of these model aeroplanes works. If we start with, we want to be able to spin this motor to turn the propeller to give it thrust, power. To drive this motor, we use a little electronic control unit that sits between the motor and the battery. So the battery plugs into that, and that powers the whole system, this battery. And that controls the motor. It also plugs into the receiver. The receiver is the bit that talks to the transmitter. So these two are talking to each other. I make an input there, and this thing receives it and tells everything what to do, whether it's the motor or these servos. This little blue box is a clever bit of technology that allows for the model to tolerate turbulence. So if there's a little bit of a movement or a knock from turbulence, this thing will sense it and will make inputs to make sure that the model stays level and flying straight whenever we hit turbulence. So that's really handy for making it easier to fly. So motor controller, receiver talking to the transmitter, and a gyro stabilizer. And these little chaps are the servos. There's 6 of them, 4 in the wings, 2 in the tail, and they just move back and forth to control the control surface of the airplane. There you go, 60 seconds, actually more like 90 seconds, but that's how all these electronics control the airplane. I am so happy with the result. This aircraft is everything that I wanted it to be. It's about 400 grams lighter than the other aircraft. The other aircraft is about 1.5 kilograms. This is 1.1 kilograms, which was my primary goal, was to get the weight down. I've achieved that goal. I think it looks pretty good, even without any paint on it. So out with the old, in with the new. I've done a full systems check. Everything's working great. It cost about $95 for the aircraft, not including the battery or the transmitter. Transmitters are, this one's about $45. The battery's about $20, $25, depending on which one you get. But the aircraft itself was complete and it's ready to fly for $95. And you can get all the parts on an online store like Amazon or AliExpress. If you've seen any of my other videos, you'd know that I live in the Philippines, so we use a local online store called Lazada. That's the one I use, and that supplied everything for this. I'll include a components list in the description below. So if you are interested, and I presume if you've got to this point in the video, you're at least a little bit interested in radio-controlled aircraft, but I'll include a component list below. I'll also include a link to the original model. This is a custom model. I created this model myself. There is no Pilatus Porter model that I know of that you can make from online plans like this. I use the base model for this is a Flite Test Simple Storch, which is a Fuselage Storch model. I changed the tail feathers and I changed the nose, so it's a customized build. I did all of that myself because I really wanted to create a Pilatus Porter model. I've done that twice and I'm really happy with the result. I can't wait to fly this. I'll be flying it in the next week or two if the weather permits, and I'll put that video up on YouTube. So if you are interested in seeing that video, please subscribe to my channel. And if you have enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this video. I know it was a little bit longer, and if you're not interested in model airplanes, this video was not for you, so I don't know why you're still watching. But thank you so much for watching. I've really enjoyed this project, and we'll see you in the next video.
Mm-hmm.